Action Go, Spider-Man 4 release date, changed, Marvel Phase 5 and 6. Is the cost one rest to say, but listen, check this out.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren Thompson, and it looks like Marvel Studios is going to be going through some changes. Now, before anybody starts to freak out pretty badly, I do believe that these are going to be really good changes that are much needed with Marvel Studios right now. And if we can suffer through some date changes and delays, I think ultimately the MCU will be better. Unfortunately, that does mean we do have to suffer a little bit, but let's talk about how this is really a good thing. Also, big congrats to YouTube user Army Onslaught for winning the next giveaway. Don't worry, we are still doing more giveaways. So if you want a chance to win a Marvel Legends item, be sure to subscribe and comment down below. Now, we knew that some changes were coming when Disney fired Bob Chapek and brought Bob Iger back on board. And based off of everything that we've heard, which is rumors at this point in time, nothing from Disney officially, but based off of those rumblings that we would hear, Bob Chapek really had a priority of pushing Disney Plus subscriber numbers. He was more about the numbers, whereas Bob Iger before was more about creativity. Of course, he was about numbers to an extent. Of course, he was the CEO, but he understood that good quality content would bring in subscribers and viewers and fans to the movie theaters. So Marvel Studios put out so much content within the past 2 years that they almost put out just as much content that they did in the first 11 years of the entirety of the MCU, which is insane to think about. They did just about 11 years worth of work in 2 years. So when people started to complain about Phase 4 kind of being more about quantity over quality, they were kind of correct, but it wasn't exactly Marvel Studios' fault. Also, I don't think Phase 4 was that bad. In fact, in my next video coming out this afternoon, I have guests on, Chris from Cosmic Culture and Wendy from the Movie Couple. We're going to talk about that, so be sure to look out for that in a few hours. But Phase 4 was a building phase. However, you could certainly start to notice that the quality started to lack. And apparently, ever since Bob Iger got back, the focus is kind of shifting again back to that creative side and quality side, more over quantity. So unfortunately, that means some things are probably going to get pushed back. And today we have a report from somebody over at the Cosmic Circus, Alex P, that suggests that some changes are indeed going to be coming from the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline. And unfortunately, that means a pushback in the Spider-Man 4 release date. Now, with the Spider-Man 4 release date probably being pushed back, there's actually good news and bad news to this. The bad news is that with it being pushed back, it's probably going to be released in 2025 instead of any time in 2024. Originally, the Cosmic Circus reported that Spider-Man 4 should have a release date of July of 2024. However, not only is Marvel Studios probably going to have some changes, but Sony as well seemingly is making changes too. Sony was marked down for attending CCXP. They even announced it on the CCXP website, and Sony announced it themselves. However, eventually, Sony ended up backing out. And the reports for this state that the reason they were backing out is because some of their big picture films moved release dates, so they didn't want to talk about them yet. And we assumed that Spider-Man 4 was one of these release dates. Spider-Man 4 is confirmed. Make no mistake about that. Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios and executive producer over at Sony, Amy Pascal, have already confirmed this. They confirmed this about a week after Spider-Man No Way Home hit theaters. And not to mention Tom Rothman, the CEO of Sony, a couple of days ago came out and said, yes, Spider-Man 4 is indeed happening. So make no mistake, Spider-Man 4 is coming, either in Phase 5 or Phase 6. But Tom Rothman also said, when it's coming, I don't know. So Sony most likely has pushed back the release date for Spider-Man 4 due to something internally. It could be contracts, it could be trying to get old actors back or new actors to play a new villain. Who knows? But at this point in time, we've heard a lot of reports about a new Spider-Man contract with the MCU and Sony, but I want to clarify, this isn't a contract between Tom Holland and Sony, not yet. This is simply for Spider-Man to remain in the MCU, Spider-Man the character. So there is a difference between Tom Holland's contract and the contract for the character Spider-Man, because if they wanted to, they absolutely should not, but if they wanted to, they could recast Spider-Man. They could recast Tom Holland and still have a Spider-Man in the MCU. But again, that would be an absolutely terrible idea, and there's no way they should do that. Unless it's like Miles Morales, but it can't be Peter Parker. They can't recast Tom Holland already. But the report is apparently for 3 solo Spider-Man films, so another trilogy, and then 3 other group projects. 2 of them are Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. So that's 5 different projects, and the 6th one is kind of a mystery right now. It could be another group film, or it could be Spider-Man appearing in the Daredevil series. Fingers crossed for that, but unfortunately we don't really know right now. But here's the good news. Even if we do get some delays, Spider-Man 4 does have to come out before Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, because we know Spider-Man is going to show up in both of those. And the story of Spider-Man does kind of have to be finished, at least the story of No Way Home and Spider-Man 4, before we get to these big group films where the other Avengers interact with Spider-Man. Because the story of nobody knowing his identity now, we have to go through that before we get to these team-up films. So even if Spider-Man 4 does get delayed, the good news is it still has to come relatively soon. Now, Alex P. from the Cosmic Circus thinks that it's probably coming in 2025 now. Rather than getting pushed back to sometime in 2024, like winter of 2024, it's most likely coming in 2025 sometime. Hopefully we don't have to wait as long as a year, but as long as we get this movie in Phase 5, I think we're going to be okay. Now, having said that, I do think there's going to be shifts in Phase 5 and Phase 6 schedules as it is. And what will most likely happen is they'll probably push everything back just a little bit. Take each project and push it back maybe 2 months each. And of course, I know a lot of fans don't really want this, but this is what I was talking about in the beginning, where I stated that this is probably a good thing. If we're trying to focus on quality, not quantity, but quality, this is a good thing, because this means we'll still get the same amount of projects. However, Marvel Studios will give the projects more time to be focused on improving the quality. That, and it's going to be a lot easier for the workers over at Disney. We've already heard stories about workers working way overtime, and that is because they had such a tight schedule before trying to get all of these movies and Disney Plus shows and special presentations out. I don't want to see the schedule pushed back any more than anybody else does, but ultimately, I do think that it's going to be a good thing if they do decide to do this, and it does sound like they are going to do it. However, I will say that the Sony decision to push back Spider-Man 4 could be a decision on their own, and that could be made completely separate from Marvel Studios, because after all, Sony does kind of have the final say with Spider-Man, especially when it comes to when the movie comes out and the marketing and everything for that, and announcing the movie. That's all up to Sony. It's always done by Sony. Marvel Studios never does it. In fact, it's never even included in the slates for Marvel Studios. So there is always the chance that Marvel Studios might not really push things back too much, and that Sony's decision was separate. However, like I said, I do think it should be pushed back a little bit. The entire Phase 5 and Phase 6 slate, just to give Marvel Studios and the workers more time to focus on that quality, so Phase 5 can be better than Phase 4, and also Phase 6 better than Phase 5, and also hopefully going forward, every phase kind of be better in quality, at least, than the previous phase. Strictly speaking about quality, because obviously WandaVision was never going to be as good as Avengers Endgame. That's not a very good comparison, and whatever comes after Secret Wars isn't going to be as good as Secret Wars. However, the quality of the content can be up there. But let us know your thoughts about these possible changes in the comments down below. What do you think? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest news. For live updates, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.
Yeah, please subscribe, like this video, and have a great day. And see you guys. Bye.